So my name is Jameson. I'm here with PreSonus. My good friend TJ here. He's going to explain how the ecosystem works. So if you want to take it away, let's get at it. Yeah.
I'm TJ. I'm the business development manager for PreSonus, working inside of Sweetwater. And today we're going to take a look at our ecosystem and what PreSonus does and what is different from what they do with their competition. Uniquely enough, PreSonus is one of the very few companies that can take an artist from being able to put something down on paper from a USB microphone and then take them all the way to performing with line array speakers. What we're going to be looking at is our Studio Live Series 3 ecosystem that takes you from the ability to have this as a footprint in your studio and then also take the same exact equipment out live for performance. The 64S is the console that we have in front of us today. It's a 64-channel digital console, but it's also an interface. You don't find the hybrid this much as far as its deep integration with other components in the industry, but the fact that we call it the Studio Live is the fact that it is a completely 64-channel studio interface, but it's also able to be taken out live for you to use it at front of house. And then we offer stage box solutions that can be all of your I/O in the studio, but it also can be your monitor rig, and it can be all of your digital I/O on stage. So let's just run this from a conceptual standpoint. We've got Studio One going live, and right now I've put this in DAW mode. I can quickly flip out of DAW mode and go into a conventional front house console aspect where I've got all of my EQs, compressors, and all of my processing here locally. But if I want to use this in interface, I also have the ability to pull up all of my plugins and processing inside of the DAW straight from the interface itself. I've got my studio monitors connected to the unit. And then if I want, I've got local I/O. I've got 32 channels of physical XLRs, TRS jacks in the back.
Nice.
But if I want to expand and have vocal booth, or if I want, just I/O scattered across whatever the studio home I'm working in, we can use our 24R or NSB. We've got 16, 24, 32 options.
So for I know my viewers, they know about my IEM system builds that I do. So with the Studio Live 24R, 16R, and 32R, you can connect that with this and have not that XLR split that everyone does, where it's like three-way split, four-way split, or whatever.
Absolutely. So this can work as remote I/O to the consoles, but at the same time, it's got DSP and processing built into it. So I can have a computer or an iPad, whatever configuration I want, phones connected wirelessly via the router, and I can use this as a processing unit to be fully integrated for monitor world. And then this is also sending a split from the 24R to our console, so your front of house has a split and it's sending them so that they can mix them simultaneously. So it's perfect. It completely avoids the XLR split. You save
Very intuitive,
saves a ton of money, and as you know, weight on the roads for not having the splits. It all runs over a single cab.
So circling back to, you're showing the DAW mode, and then, so right now this is live mode, right?
Right.
So technically, when you're in DAW mode, a lot of bands are doing these things called virtual mixes now. Absolutely. So is that something that is tied into DAW mode, or would you go into front of house mode and route it?
So there's two ways. You could have it in DAW mode, and you could do your virtual sound check over DAW mode, or we also have a thing that's called Capture. Capture is just an SD card slot. What you would do is you would record a live show or just have a session brought into Capture, and then you could replay everything through the console via Capture, so you could tune the room via the EQ or just make sure that all of your adjustments are set for the show. But yeah, in theory, you could absolutely use DAW mode as a way for you to have your session, run it, and push it through the console. But you could also use it just straight into front of house and just use Capture to put all the audio out through the console that way. So there's a couple ways to skin the cat, if you will.
Nice. This is a really cool setup. So we talked about the Studio Live stuff into here. I see you got two interfaces over here. How does this get integrated with Studio Live?
So with Studio Live, I mean, there's, again, when that whole process of making USB microphones all the way to line arrays, we also have an entire line of studio interfaces.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people, myself, I personally don't work in front of a console. I just wanted interfaces. So our Quantum line is high-end conversion, and we've got plenty of expandable options. We've got 4848, we've got a Quantum TB. This is our 2626.
Very familiar with this guy. So
it's just a baseline $500 interface that you can use over Thunderbolt to your computer. So if somebody doesn't need the footprint of a console in their studio, we also make an entire line of studio interfaces from 2-channel interfaces all the way up to 16 channels with expandability via LightPipe. So again, they don't necessarily tie into the Studio Live, but for me in this office, what I actually have is I primarily use the interface as my conversion, and I'm using the Studio Live as my physical controller.
Oh.
It's just the way that I have this studio set up, because in the office, obviously, I have multiple sets of studio monitors. So I'm using the central station underneath the interfaces as my monitor controller between the 3 sets. So without having a lot of monitor control options in the 64S, what I wanted is use the interface as my converters, and then use this central station as my monitor controller. And what I'm using is the 64 is basically a control surface to my DAW, because as you can see, anything that I'm doing on my console is going to tie directly into my DAW.
Yeah, and it's definitely fast responding, you know.
Yeah, it's completely live, and I know a lot of people are going to ask the question is like, can I use this with other DAWs? And absolutely. It's Mackie Huey Protocol, so it's going to tie into Pro Tools, it's going to tie into Logic, it's going to tie into all of your major DAWs that have that kind of control. But obviously, if you were to buy the console, you actually get Studio One. If you buy our interfaces, it comes with Studio One. So it fully integrates, and obviously from my inserts to my sends to all of my transport control, that ties in, you know, seamlessly into the software.
Yeah, just looking at like how your setup is, it's definitely nice to see like a lot of companies aren't putting the XLRs in the front. They put like 2, and then the rest of them are in the back. So I'm a big fan of how you can just like plug your guitar in right here, use this to change your gain, edit your DAW, and then you're out rocking, you know, in here, or in rocking, I should say, right? So
we think about that a lot too with our live equipment. So you can see on the 32, this is an NSB 3216, and some people want all of the I/O accessible from the front of the rack, but at the same time, some people don't. So what you can actually do is you can adjust these rack ears to make it so you've got like a 4-inch gap between the rack ears and the front of this, so your XLRs aren't sticking outside of the rack.
Yes.
You know, if you build rigs, you're going to patch everything in. Some people have everything patched, and you go to close the lid, and you've got 4 inches of XLR sticking out of the front of the rack. So what we made it is we made our stage boxes to be reversible. I can either have the rack ears on the front or the back, and I can also subset the rack ears 4 to 6 inches in, so you can have everything racked and shut the lid on the case without having to disconnect anything at the end of the night.
That is awesome. That's like a lot of problems for some bands I see. So, wow.
It's great. PreSonus, I started working with them in 2020. It's truly a company full of musicians. Any product that we make is a result of someone going to a gig and saying, I wish we had this.
We need to fix this.
So a lot of the solutions that you're finding PreSonus create is all a subset of us getting to a gig and realizing, like, oh, I can't shut my lid on the rack because the XLRs are all hanging.
Yeah, just unplug it all.
We're repatching everything every night. So, yeah, a lot of these, like, moments that you learn while touring and while playing gigs, that's how we're integrating it into our gear.
And the nice thing is, like you were saying, with all the connectivity of this, you don't need to do, like I said, those XLR splits.
Correct.
So then you're just doing one, it's an AVB connection to the console?
Yeah, we utilize AVB as our protocol. It's a digital connection between the 2 points. And the great thing about AVB is you don't need an IT degree to connect these things. AVB is a prioritized audio packet that basically is sending channels of 8 between 2 points. So when you connect this to the console, all you do is you go to audio routing, and it's going to show a list of all of your peripherals that are connected via AVB. You choose how you want those routed in banks of 8, and then it's done. It's not like Dante. It's not like any other digital protocol where you're having to connect IP addresses. Because it's sending prioritized audio packs between the 2 points, it's already speaking the same language, and it knows exactly what to look for. Furthermore, when you're doing networking, the best part about AVB is you're not going to introduce anything into the network that is going to all of a sudden kick AVB out. As soon as 2 AVB devices are connected on a network, it's a firm shake of hand that understands we're going to prioritize this connection, and nothing is going to come and interrupt it. So it's a very secure signal. It's a very prioritized signal between 2 points, and as a result, we've seen a lot of stability and a lot of people be able to rely on cutting out all these XLR splits and having a single Cat5 connection between 2 points to run their show in their studio.
Wow. This is definitely an awesome, setup you guys got, and I'm excited to know more about PreSonus and trying out Studio One and trying out all the integrated stuff that you guys have. So,
Jameson, thanks for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. So if you're wanting any of this PreSonus stuff, I'll have links in the description below. All links are affiliate links, so if you'd like to support the channel, please use them. And have a nice day.